Hi, my name is Belisle, and this is my highlight video for my Fort Hays State University ePortfolio with my graduate coursework in building leadership. Here in the first tab in candidate info, I have my introduction video. I talk a little bit about my personal life with my husband and my 3 kids and where I hope to be as an administrator in the next several years. And then down here I have several personal and professional goals, and just to kind of give a little rundown of what those goals are. Professionally, I'm hoping to become even more involved in assessments in my district. Throughout the program, I had the opportunity to become more involved in assessments than I was before. I got to attend some meetings with curriculum and the KITE workshop in Hays to prepare teachers to take the interim assessments. And I also want to evolve as a teacher. I know that education is going to be changing significantly in the next several years, and so I'm hoping to just continue to evolve as a teacher and roll with the punches with whatever comes at me as an educator. And then eventually I want to, of course, transition into the role as an administrator. Ideally, I'd like to be a grade school principal. And then I have some personal goals off to the side here, just to be a best mom and wife that I can be, and to hopefully make an impact on as many children and teachers as I can in my time in education. My philosophy of education, I mainly focused on just making sure that the staff that I work with, my faculty and staff, know my vision, and that we create a shared vision that all stakeholders can work toward, and that I communicate that well with everyone involved. I also think having a good moral compass and a compassionate heart is extremely important in any role that you have in education, but definitely as an administrator. And I also want to make sure that when I am a leader that I have clarity and that I'm organized with my staff and students. That way everybody can feel as though they are reaching their fullest potential and that I'm helping guide them in that process. Under candidate info, I have also my program of study. I started the program in spring of 2016. So I'm coming up on 2.5 years of working in the program. I took 1 or 2 courses at a time. There were only a couple of times that I had to work on 2 courses at the same time, but definitely a manageable schedule. Took a couple of classes in the summer. Down here I have my resume. And I have only taught in 1 district. I started off as an elementary teacher at Waukene, and I'm still currently in that school district. I was a 3rd grade teacher at the beginning of my career there for 2 years, and then I transitioned to a 1st grade position for 2 years, and now I've been in 3rd grade again since 2016. I also have experience in coaching multiple sports. I started off as the junior high volleyball assistant coach, and I did that for 2 years. And then I was the head high school volleyball coach for 3 years, and now I am currently junior high assistant track coach. And I also have lots of different experience just in my time at Fort Hays during my undergraduate work. While I was pursuing my elementary education degree, of course, I have all of my internships and my student teaching, and then some of my activities and honors that I was in during my time at Fort Hays. And then I have my references down here on the 2nd page. On to the next tab, my annotated bibliography. I found 10 very useful articles. I tried to find different articles than what I had already researched and used in my coursework, just because I wanted to have a really good foundation of resources as I pursue my actual career in building leadership. I tried to find some that talked about the shift that we're going to see in education and how it's hopefully going to change even more so than it has in the last several decades. In a lot of my coursework, we talked about how education really hasn't changed significantly that much in the last 50 years. And so the redesign of education and what that's going to entail is something that I kind of tried to focus on. I also found articles that talked about being a positive school leader and how the professional standards that we have in place can help us achieve that. And then, of course, some privacy laws. During the coursework, we had to, I had to learn a lot about FERPA and FAPE, and so I kind of focused in on a few articles that talked about that as well. So I found 10 really good articles, and I really enjoyed just getting more knowledge from those. So here I have my elementary, secondary, and district activities. I want to come over to my activity log first, though. I logged 50 different activities, and it totaled to about almost 170 hours. I had a lot of different activities that I could that I used from my coursework, but then I also had a lot of activities that I found with my administrator that I had set up with him to try and get some more hands-on and real-life experience in our building and in our district. So for the elementary activities, I first was able to sit in on some interviews as we were looking for 2 new elementary teachers last summer for this school year. I got to sit on 3 different interviews, but I have 2 interview notes here, or notes that I had taken during the interviews. And then before the interviews, I got to be a part of the reviewing of their resumes, their portfolios that they sent in, and then I asked questions during the interviews and got to follow up with our administrators and kind of discuss the candidates. This was a handout that I had created during one of our courses over assistive technology, and then just some different meeting notes that I had from a meeting with recess rules that we had with upper elementary, some observation and conference forms. We created a new SLP document, and I was a part of that team and kind of leading that discussion. Some different videos that I could show to my staff and my students regarding person-first language. I attended a social emotional workshop in Salina that I then brought that information back to our school counselors and our psychologists to present to our entire staff. Then I did a lot of work in the grade school with assessment. I was able to attend a kite workshop in Hayes, and then I was in charge of getting our teachers prepped to give the interim assessments in the fall, winter, and spring. And so I had a meeting in fall of 2017 to kind of give that information to the teachers, give them a rundown of what the interim assessments would entail and how to look at their results. And then I created an assessment calendar for the grade school and also our high school. And then I just have some email documentation of some troubleshooting and some different correspondence about assessments. At the secondary level, again, had some handouts that I could use for high school regarding FERPA. I was the female administrator at our female wrestler weigh-in. Again, I made a state assessment calendar for the high school. I was able to interview a high school principal over their curriculum adoption, and so that was really helpful in understanding that process and how it was similar to what our district does, but also to see some different ways of going about curriculum adoption. So that was this interview. Children's Internet Protection Act, I made a presentation that I thought would be appropriate for the secondary level. And then activity fund safeguards, since we have primarily a lot of activities happening at our high school. And then I had a lot of district work because of my involvement in assessments. It affected our whole district. But also during my first coursework, I had made a lot of handouts that could be used for school promotional reasons, or this first one is for an improvement plan for our school. The second one is an event checklist, and so for anyone who works within our district, or maybe someone who isn't employed by our district but is working at a task gate, could use this event checklist. This is a government organizational chart that I had made, and then a communications chart, which would be handy to have in the district office. Again, a fake handout. An acceptable use policy. That would be great for any level because we are one-to-one iPads at the grade school level, and then one-to-one Chromebooks, 6th grade through 12th grade. So it's appropriate for both buildings, but just an acceptable use policy that could be signed by the student and parent. And then I have some handouts over our school that involve our demographics. And I attended the law symposium at Fort Hays State University. That was very informative. And then again, some more assessment notes from kite meetings and some different curriculum meetings that I have attended. And a couple of videos and presentations that would be good at the district level. Next, I have my administrator evaluation. My principal was extremely helpful in helping me get my required activities and just informing me on all different aspects of administration. And so he was a great resource throughout the program. My reflection was very telling of how I felt the program coursework went. At first, I was not quite sure what to expect. I expected to learn a lot about how to handle certain disciplinary situations and how to manage teachers. And I definitely found out that being an administrator and going through this program entailed a lot more. So it was very eye-opening to see the behind the scenes of what it takes to be an administrator. I'm not sure that I will be an administrator anytime soon. I'm not sure that I am personally in a good place for that. And I think professionally I could use some more experience in just different educational situations. But hopefully I will be ready to take that step in the next several years, maybe in 10 years when my kids are a little bit older. But I do feel that the program has definitely prepared me and given me a solid foundation to take that step eventually. So I really enjoyed my time working with my professors and my advisors at Fort Hays State University, and I look forward to completing my comp exam and graduating in May. Thank you.